This is the cat. This is the cat that Bucky designed. I don't know if you guys knew that. He designed a cat. So yeah, to recap, this is the Bucky Fuller ad campaign. He's been thawed from cryogenic freezing, and now he's doing his ad campaign, but it's kind of stuck in the 70s because he's from the 70s, sadly.
Awesome.
No,
what a story arc.
So yeah, we're just it's sort of in progress. We're doing we're kind of like mining those sort of old school ad campaigns. So it's as if he's pitching to you.
Liana, you see the I just want to learn how to see the rabbit.
Yeah. So good.
Thanks.
That's sick.
So he's basically like advertising all whole system designs, right? And this with total, exuberance and enthusiasm.
Foliage, lots of foliage. Oh, save the best for last. This is Liana's versions of Paul Rudish's stuff, and it's very, very beautiful.
It's like
I love the texture.
Go back.
Texture play.
Texture fans.
Texture fans. Sick.
Yeah. Oh, so nice.
What's the guy in the back called again?
Foo Dog.
Foo Dog. I see that in Asian
Guardian.
culture a lot. It's a guardian, yeah. Foo Dog. Oh, sick.
They really are. They're so good.
That's right.
I know. It's just
Okay.
so. And the thing I like about these is these don't look like they were ever made on a computer to me, right? Like there's something that's non-digital, even though it was, right? This. Oh, thank you. This is reminding me, Amber, and what we got to get all the things that we've created this work on. We need to create a colophon for the work, meaning that like all the programs that we use, Illustrator, Photoshop, anything else, the type of computers, the Syntec, all that stuff that all the artists have been using. We just need to get a compilation of that for the colophon. Just a
I have no idea what you just said. That's okay. I'll ask you later.
Chloroform.
Oh, I get it. That's
what I got.
No, the colophon. It's I don't know if they use it in the art world, but it's in books, right? So when you open a book, you see when it was printed, what it was printed on, the publisher, right? So it's like the metadata of the work.
Wait, I thought we were supposed to be fighting the caliphate.
No, colophon.
Really, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Who said that? Is that Amber?
That's Rob.
No, that's Amber.
Oh, is it Amber?
Yeah.
Nice. Amber, 2 points.
Jokes, Amber. Really?
Sick.
All right. So I don't know what happened to Patricia, but I guess maybe she got out of the meeting. So I'm gonna start.
Wait, don't start. What do you mean? Start what?
Oh no. Oh, hold on.
Have some respect.
Check your.
Oh man, invite. These are great.
I think
the colors.
Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I just Patricia's trying to get in. I have to go into my the email real quick. I'm so sorry.
Go for it. Something more important's happening.
Brain is winning.
What is this?
These are for some of the variations, which will have Aikido poses, and this is. I think these are square, triangle, circle. Rome could elucidate, but it's it basically is an Aikido.
Squid Game. I got it.
It's Squid Game. Yeah, it's Squid Game. Squid Game.
Well, actually, it's an interesting thing to elucidate on, if you guys don't mind, because it's actually going to fit into what we're going to be going over. Actually, because the circle
that's going. That's Akido, Akiwiki, Akido.
Yes, ma'am.
So the circle and the square and the triangle is something that is central in Aikido, but it's also central in Bucky Fuller's design principles. And they both share those in common, which that's when I, was putting 2 and 2 together. That was a huge thing for me. But these 3 design principles, I'm gonna show you guys in this next thing how those design principles. Here's Patricia. Actually, cool, nice entry point. How these same design principles, like if we, I don't have the time, right? But if we had the time, I could show you how they work in Aikido, right? And then how they work in the geodesic dome. And now I'm going to show you how they're working on our site that we're building right now, putting out, right? So it's a kind of like a good, hey, this is everyone, this is my dear friend Patricia, who joined the call out of curiosity, and she's also a psychoanalyst. And this one is a little like, psychological, intuitive. So.
Okay.
You're friends with P, well then you're friends with me.
Hey, we're just looking at some of that. Okay.
Whoa.
Wow.
All right, so I'm going to switch over. Hey, Kat, can you stop sharing your screen?
You've been dismissed.
Just put, yeah, there you go. All right.
Oh, we lost Rob.
Oh, we did?
I believe so.
We lost Rob. Is he gonna be coming back in?
He's a big boy though.
All right, so listen, this isn't, this is also going to be a little bit of an intuitive thing that I'm going to be doing, because I want you guys to kind of, I'm going to show you how the design is playing out in our system. But I'm still working on how to explain this stuff. It's not like I have super clear presentations, but this is what we're going to be piloting and over the course of probably the next year. So it's pretty important. And what I'm doing is, because everyone on this call has already seen AkiWiki, so you have a sense of how it works. And what's being applied from AkiWiki though are very simple things. And I'm just going to call this 9x3 narrative logic. I'm sorry, just to give it a name. The 3 refers to the 0, 1, or 2, or the circle, the square, and the triangle in Aikido, or in the geodesic dome.
Nice.
But this is a whole system design principle, and I'm just showing you the highlights because I'm going to show you now how these are being applied in what we're doing. Now, this is the markup language of AkiWiki, right? That you guys are familiar with, right? So and I added some more to these things. But the markup language, none of this, the markup language does not really need, where's Paul? Nice.
Yay, Paul.
So the markup language, it doesn't really need a computer interface if everyone's really paying attention and super mindful, and we're using Google Docs and everybody's super patient and rational. But the reason why I'm showing this though, because this isn't just like, oh, here's like some selections on the page. This is a systems language, which means that if you understand this systems language, you can predict how the design will play out in a new environment. So for example, here's our systems language. I'm going to apply a color scheme now to our systems language using the systems language. Now, what does that mean? That means that how the system language is played out, this informed me what colors to use. Why? Because if blue is what we're saying is true and red is what we're saying is false, this must be the combination of both those colors, because that is how the system language works. So,
that's
so
purple?
These 3, yes, well, purple, yeah, Zach's colorblind. So it applies to most of us in this call. But now this is intuitive. This is an intuitive thing because you have to figure out, well, how does this design language like play out in an environment? Right. So what we've done with AkiWiki, which is really cool because that's actually the hardest. We took this language and we started applying it now. So you see how 0, 1, or 2. Now remember the discussion rooms in AkiWiki, and there's a discussion room for the rational consensus. And that discussion room, ideally, you want it populated with a lot of these kinds of tags, because that's the kind of conversation you would have in the rational discussion room. And then the 2 is the salon. And the salon is like the free flowing creative conversation. Anything goes. It could be a little chaotic, it could be all kinds of things. And you can see that that room is organized by this design principle, right? And same thing with the speculation room. Is this making sense so far? Because I know this can be arcane, but this is like legitimate, systems language stuff. Is it making sense so far?
Yes.
All right. So, and then that what we do in AkiWiki is we take this 0, 1, or 2, and then we run the 9 narrative events through it. And these 9 narrative events, that's what I call the narrative logic. And if you take 0, 1, or 2, and if we were all to have a conversation and using this markup language, we would eventually discover AkiWiki if we didn't have it right now. Because these 9 narrative events emerge from conversations in this format. I don't know why, but they do. So in AkiWiki, you see how that works. And in AkiWiki, we can use that to organize the chaos of human conversation, which is probably one of the most chaotic things. So doing this for a DAO studio is easy in comparison. It's a lot easier, a lot less things to hassle about. But you see how the system language of 0, 1, or 2 is informing the architecture of the system, and even how the pages get articulated. 0, 1, or 2 also is organizing the semantics. So this 0, 1, or 2 organizing principle, it's so elegant. It can organize semantics, which is incredibly chaotic, conversation, and it can tie it all together. So that's called whole system design. You're looking at the entire system of what's happening, and you're identifying the dynamics, and then you design to those forces. So not saying this to just, here's an interesting, lecture, but now that I want to introduce you to, we're still getting stuff up. This isn't finished yet. But keeping that in mind, what I just showed y'all, this is our main site. This is our main NFT site. This website, Big Mother's DAO, think of this is like our corporate site, right? So this is, people want to know about the DAO, what the DAO does, right? All the stuff that we're doing, right? This is where they would go. But this is not our main site. This is our main site, and we're just kind of finalizing the site now. And this is the landing page for the website. Now look how everything is organized on this website. It's following this ternary organizing principle, which isn't just as easy as, put everything in 3s. That's not, you know what I mean? That's not how the principle works. But you can see there's look, participate, listen. It's repeated here. Look, right? Commingle, participate. I'm still finding the best language to use in our context. I'm not saying this is the best language. And these are 3 different ways to participate in the project itself. And so if you click on commingle, think of this like the rational consensus room in AkiWiki, right? So let me just go back to, right? Here's the rational consensus room. Same dynamic, same principle playing out in this room. This is the funding round. This is where, just very clear explanation of how the NFT works, how the economy of it works, the decisions and choices you have to make. There's, a lot of collaboration with the community. Communication is very clear. But if you go into this area, this is like going into the parlor room. Now, when I sent a few of you, like as I was putting this up, I sent, hey, check it out. I just put up a first pass. Now, when I put up a first pass on something, even me doing that is actually a part of the process, because when I put up a first pass, it's usually, not very good. And the idea is it's so not good that people react to it and they suggest changes and stuff like that. But this past week, and Amber and Carrie will tell you, right? Like Amber and Carrie and I had a huge misunderstanding simply because I was sharing
negotiations.
I was sharing the link to this page right here where the art is, and Amber and Carrie were expecting this page. And you could see that if you confuse something that has a 2 context with something that has a 1 context, all the misunderstanding that can happen just from that. And that's why we separate these 2 contexts so they can kind of be restitched back together. All right, the 1 and the 2, art and science, whatever you want to call it, true and false. And in our game, right, so the looks is the scenes. Now, what I'm doing here, and this is where we have the potential to start applying AkiWiki to our DAO as a studio right now. Now, I'm not saying everyone is required to or you have to, right? But if you feel motivated to, we could actually start using intuitively at first, AkiWiki, the markup language of AkiWiki, to help write a story together. So this why not world game, right? This is meant to be a intuitive, artsy fartsy narrative stroll. This is not meant to be like the place where people go to digest and understand everything that's going on. This is meant to be the story of us forming the DAO, working with the material about Bucky Fuller, and creating everything. So everything is very meta in this system with no apologies. You'll always find little like meta plays on words and paradoxes and stuff. So when someone comes in here, the idea is that they're taking a journey, an intuitive journey through our story, but as if it was told through something like a social media content feed, because content, is very jarring. Like for example, if this is 4chan, right?
Oh, no.
So like if you go to 4chan, right, or any kind of threading, you can see how in some ways a story could be told, especially like, let's say that this day, let's say, the war in Ukraine started today. So all the conversations are about this event that's happening in the world. You could see how you can get an impression, right, of what of a story of what's happening in the world simply by scrolling through content feeds. So the idea with this is that this is something like that. We're kind of in a very intuitive way telling our story. Now, what I'm doing is I'm laying out the narrative arcs in the first pass. And what that means is there's the placeholder here. Placeholders are here for all the elements that you need in the story. I put them up quickly as a first pass, and I put them up as all different kinds of posts because I just want to show that difference, right? That there's like, hey, like these are a bunch of different posts. They seem all disconnected, but if you follow along, you realize that they are connected. And that's kind of what we want to show, because we are taking on online media. We're taking on social media. It's a big part of our critique. So what we're doing, the idea here is to tell our story, very simple way, using different types of content posts and stuff to do it as simply as possible. And we basically want to take a journey through disruptive media and have people intuitively recreate it and find how it all works together inside of this narrative structure. So that might sound a little too wordy, so I'll say it again. Basically, the idea here is like, we're deconstructing something, but we're not just letting people hang with the deconstruction. We are assuming that there's going to be some type of, what's that word you used the other day, Carrie? What's the word? Dissonance, cognitive dissonance, because people might not know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's okay here, right? So as I'm saying, we're not trying to spoon feed. Here is exactly what happens in the story. This idea is to create intuitive impressions in a linear form that they can jump in and out of linearly. And while we're deconstructing it, we're also reconstructing it so they can, regenerate like a cohesive pathway. Does that make sense?
We're being confusing on purpose, not on accident.
It's not confusing though. It's just we're working with natural dissonance, right? Because we're always going to deal with people being confused about what's going on. There's no perfect way of leading people and explaining it. And you say it and people hear it exactly like you understood. That doesn't exist in the world. The only thing we could do is really just assume that people will get lost And when they do get lost, we give them tools that they can easily intuitively find what they need and where they need to go.
That's intriguing.
That's really the best thing that you can do. And because we're making it very clear, hey, this is artsy fartsy stuff. If you like to look at pictures and you like to you want to stop at one and look at what it says, that's cool, because you don't need to take anything from this, right? Like what you need to take is this, right? This area of the site. Whoops, where's the?
Play the music.
No, I have to go back to the to the site. Why the internet's not working right now?
Okay, earlier.
Oh,
Yeah,
put it back.
Confusing.
Put it back.
Really,
A
really
poor artist blames his tools.
So
Close enough.
the round in the chapter, which I invite everyone to to read, this is the page that people will probably be linking to and sharing the most, right? Because it explains everything. It's the art. It's setting up the game. But the idea is that it's really clear, distinct communication. And when people go into listen to the podcast, this is like going into the speculation room on AkiWiki, right? Now we don't have anything up yet. What happened to? I don't know why that's there. Hey Zach, what happened to the season one? It's okay if you did, because no, we had our other podcast on there.
Oh yeah, I gotcha.
Well, anyway, so like the idea is like if you're this is an immersive media project. This is not for immediate consumption, right? Cool, I got my little quick social media fix. I'm jumping. And we want to let people immerse themselves, because the full immersion in this whole project, right? Someone can spend days, who knows, right? Weeks inside of everything if they want. Anyway, so any questions, or does this make sense? Or is everyone starting to see how the design language is? So if anyone is ever confused where I'm going, like, oh my God, Roma's lost his mind. What you know what I mean? Just know I'm always trying to find where these principles are playing out and what we're working on. And I always trust those principles to present very easy, elegant design solutions, things like I would never come up with, right? They're very easy to naturally discover when you just continue to build and design in this way.
I feel like Ram, just to follow up on what you just said there about how this is an immersive experience, and the internet can be so misleading and confusing. So we're giving that an experience. I think we should make an effort as a team to, at some point under here, I don't know, maybe we have already, to actually show them a demonstration of what's not confusing, maybe sort of like a consensus, sort of page or landing as they move through
that's exactly what this is. That's what I just said. So it's exactly what this is.
I was just doing a little mirroring there, just to make sure that. Okay.
Yeah. That's the point. So think of rounds and rounds and acts as 1 and 2. They're saying the same thing, just from completely different perspectives. One is a very creative, personal. It's also kind of our story because we all know each other, right? So there's little like Easter eggs of how annoying everyone finds me. You know what I mean? Throughout the story, right? So and it's meant to just be very kind of personal and fleeting, and that's because that's what the 2 is, right? That's what the 2 is there for. But the podcasts are part of the story too, because if you're playing Bay, you come here because you want to buy the NFT, and when you want to buy the NFT, you learn about this cool new economy thing game. Now, I hope everyone has read this page. If not, please do, because this is explaining our game, our NFT as a game now, which we really didn't have that clear before, right? The option.
It's very good.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm kind of proud of it, actually. So this, and because there's so much going on, the rounds, there's 3 rounds with 3 chapters each, just like there's 3 acts with 3 scenes each. So think of the rounds as like a book, and you're studying about this new economic system. So you're learning about Bucky through each chapter of the rounds. You're learning about a new perspective of how we're doing on our economy. The next chapter, we start introducing all the partners. right? So this is where you're getting that very kind of clear understanding of what's going on. And and the acts and the scenes are for the for the artsy fartsy folks, which I'm one, right? I don't mind, but we're not leaning on that to do anything other than the intuitive. That's all.
Yay. That link is
But
fixed, by the way.
Does the collaboration? So what I've done is all of Act 1, the story that I'm doing, and I'm playing with language. Not saying it's the best, right? People, but here's a Google Doc with the whole story on it. So if anyone sees anything, because I'm going to be writing about some of you, right? And if you don't like what I'm saying about you, one, if anyone has any problems with me even using their names, I won't, right? So please don't feel like you're obligated to feel this. But if you don't tell me no, I'm going to assume that you love it, right? But you can also just come here, right? And you could go, and you could just use the markup language, right? And or leave a comment, because we can all write this together. I'm very busy too. So if someone has ideas are either about, hey, here's a cool little thing to put in the story, or hey, here's a cool visual thing to show something, all open, all ears, everyone can weigh in. And so that's the idea for that.
Wait, can you show an example of using the markup language?
Yeah, so basically I'm not going to turn this into a session of how to, but I will. Like if someone wants to do it, I will have a one-on-one session. But basically, you would here. Let me just tag this into the page. Give me a sec. Right. So there's the markup language at the top of the page, and all you really need to trust is just 0, 1, or 2. Right. Like. And now this is art. So this is where this is interesting, because this isn't like a contract. These aren't arguments over facts. This is like creative expression. So how does this markup language play out? Well, it still does play out. The algorithm, I've done the work on the algorithm for rational consensus building. This is the next phase of the algorithm, which is more kind of like a creative environment. And this is what we'll be piloting. But you could see that the way the markup language is, let me make this bigger. For example, notice that words like publish and produce is in the 1. And you could think, okay, well, if we're creating something, publishing it or producing it, right, is a very kind of specific decision. Of course, everyone wants to produce what they believe is going to be reliable and real, right, and measurable results, all those things. So you could see how if you guys like a line, right, you could say, hey, 1, publish. You would mark 1 for true, but in this case you're saying you like it, and this I would publish this. But you could also see how you could mark something non-publishable. Right? Hey, I don't think this is publishable. But maybe you think there's something good to it, that it can be salvaged. But if you want to play around with this, I would just try to play around with it intuitively, and not try to to find a set of rules that you have to follow. But there's things in here that will give us the right language to use for the context of how we're applying Akiwiki in the conversation. So if going back to Zach's question, right here, let me scroll down a little bit, move this down, and now this is like grading a poem or something, right? So if someone writes 1, in this context, 1 means mutual or shared. So if you type 1 next to something, that means that, yeah, I like this, but maybe it can be improved, right? Maybe I would change the language a little bit. If you say something is, 2, in this case, it means you really don't like it for whatever reason. right? It doesn't mean that, oh, this is artistic, because you look at the markup language and you would say, okay, 2 gives me non-publishable and non-producible. But you see how the 2 value gives you illegal? So think of the law, right? So 2 is illegal, 2 is misinformation, 2 is unethical, but 2 is so, right? It's so complex. So it's, you know, it's also fiction and imagination and opinion and feeling, right? So 2 is, it's a very unstable category, right? It's inconsistent. That's why this is here. Everything in here is very inconsistent with itself, but they all share something in common. Anything in one is always consistent. This is always like the agreeable position. This is always like the thing that people can come together on, that they agree is true, right? You'll see words like wisdom. Why is there a tag for wisdom? Every tag has an opposite, right? So wisdom is balanced against opinion, right? So these are all like relational tags. So yeah, there's nothing it can't handle, right? And if you're not sure, for example, if you're not sure if something is good, that, let's say in this poem, if you're not sure if it's maybe 0, I don't know, you know, this is not maybe, right? Maybe there's something to it. But anyway, the idea is that just like with AkiWiki, you know, we're essentially creating an article together. We can use a Google Doc, and because it's just us, just using the markup language, it should be enough, because, you know, Paul, let's say Paul comes along and he says 2, right? And whatever, he leaves a comment, and at least I know to have a conversation with Paul, and Paul could suggest a change, whatever, and we will change it, right? So this could be a collaborative story. I could also use all the help I can get, because I'm very busy. So I'm being efficient with my time. But that's the idea. That's the idea here. And we want to start practicing this, because we will be piloting this in the real time with a budget. Like, we'll be building a platform. So yeah. Any questions?
So for this specifically, you don't want us using the comment feature like I just did?
No, you could use that too. That's fine. I'm just, as a matter of fact, it's probably better, right? Like you could, yeah, you could leave a comment there. Either way, I did it here so it's easier to see.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and
Hey.
as long as you have the markup language.
Hey, Rome, just
Yeah.
like, this is like semantics, I guess, but like, you know, I see feeling as, you know, in the number 2 category, which is kind of the negative category. Like,
It's not
would
really a
that be more
negative.
0? Like, okay, this is your feeling about this, which is neither true nor false necessarily, because it's an opinion, or it's a feeling, you know, as opposed to unreal, unreliable, inconsistent. Those are solid denominators, whereas like feeling is
No, this is great. I love this. I love this question. So everything in the system is balanced. If you want to understand how the system is using the language, now the system might be using the language in a different way than, you know, we all have different kind of, you know, emotional charges with certain kinds of words. But the way the system uses the language is feeling is juxtaposed against thinking. So the 2 is not a negative category. It can be negative if you're using positive and negative, like electricity charges, but it's not negative in like bad category by any means. This is my favorite category. I would prefer this category all the time. False is just the personal. Think of false 2 as personal, whereas 1 is shared and collective, 2 is personal. Feelings are personal. It's a personal experience, right? So a feeling isn't like a thinking. It's not like a thought. You might have thoughts about your feelings, but feelings even in the language of the body, feelings are somatically in your body, whereas thinking is something conceptual that we kind of say is in our heads. And you see like head and body, those are two different kind of polarities. So that's all feelings means, is that it's personal. And feeling, both of these categories are very complementary to each other. Fault, the two category is just the most complex one, that's all. That's why I think it's the most interesting, because there's a few things in there. Oh yeah, delusion, you know, I want to stay away from that, right? I want to stay away from being unethical, deceptive, selfish. But you know, these are just extremes, right? So because it's personal, the two categories for all things human nature, but personalized. Of course, human nature can be good, right? It can also not be not so good. So that's all it means. It's not saying that feelings are false. Like false mean, if you want to understand how the system is using false, the system uses false like art, right? It does not use false like wrong. And sometimes that can be a little counterintuitive in the beginning. Does that clarify, Paul? Did we lose Paul?
He's muted, probably.
Oh, hello. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Oh, cool. Okay. There's a lot to it. That's why I wanted to have Patricia on the call, because this is us taking something that has a structure that can have a library around it. But this is us trying to figure out now how it's going to work in this new environment. And there's a lot of things to explore with this like semantics language. In a studio system, like let's say we're making decisions around what to produce, you know, a lot of these tags aren't going to be necessary. Feelings, right, might not be necessary as a tag to use in those settings. But if you're a therapist and you want someone to distinguish between, you know, their feelings and then their thoughts that they're having, like that's making their mind race, for example, and what's really happening, their body's in a state of anxiety and it's forcing their thoughts to race. And they can't distinguish between their thinking or their feelings at all, right? So that's a good environment where you would want to say, hey, there's a distinction here, and because once we're aware of these distinctions, I believe it's natural. We just kind of know how to kind of adapt to it because it's kind of just a natural systems language. So it's really, this is where there's going to be a lot of development. We'll have like a lot of interesting funding for researching this, but we're going to be piloting it in the creative area throughout this whole year. Anyway, that's the orientation. There's not really much else for me to cover unless anyone has any questions.
Hooray.
Simple, short meeting.
It was very good.
I don't want to. I feel like I'm always talking. I'm the only one talking.
I actually want to just throw in a little thought that I had. I think that, you know, participation, especially having been excluded from a lot of the information that's being put out on the internet, you know, and being sort of like subject to 4chan, you know, you want to know the truth. And so you go looking for it. But it doesn't require participation. It's just sort of like, you know, a drive-through. You just, I'm looking for the truth, and they just give you a burger. You know what I mean? But in this case, you know, we're asking people to figure it out and to work with each other to figure out, to come to consensus. So I'd like to propose that maybe we could incentivize participation, possibly using tokenomics, where we break it out a couple of NFTs and then we separate the ownership into shards or some sort of tokens where we could award those for participation at a certain level in the AkiWiki.
Amber, did I talk to you about that the other day, or is that Zach?
That's
No,
awesome.
You did mention something about fragmenting, you know, some of our NFTs into tokenized ownership, and I thought that might be a good way to incentivize, you know, participation on this site.
No, it's a good. Well, it's very timely. It's very timely. Because I know I was just talking to Zach about this just last night. So it does look like, because that has been one of the things. So I'll tell you one of the flaws in our system. One of the flaws in our economy, even though it's perfect unto itself, is it's very hard for me to find ways to create incentivizing structures inside of it. Right? Things like commissions. Hey, if you do this, you'll get this off the top. It's been very challenging to find that, but I did find it, Amber. So where we can do it is we can, on the copyright side, because our whole thing just works in copyright. So everything has to be counted in shares of copyright, which are slices of copy cake. One slice of copy cake is pegged to $120. Right in our system, and I think like Zach went over it last night. I think we can issue 100,000 shares of copy cake slices. So each one is worth $120 each for that purpose. And Amber, you know what I was thinking would be great to use, right? So we have all this extra art, right? Is we could use the extras for that, because when we either we can both give people slices of copy cake, or we could even sell slices of copy cake, but it's just a clean transaction. It's $120. It's already worth one share of copy cake. It already gives you dividends. So anyway, so to your point, yes, it looks like we can probably do that.
I think that we should. A lot of the ways NFTs are currently being used is actually as rewards for playing a game, and that's sort of what we're asking them to do. Only you don't really know when you win. What you're suggesting is winning is finding the truth and the consensus. So maybe we could incentivize, make that a little bit more fun to find the truth in that way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll be finessing this as we go along, and we'll always, right, be looking to keep the conversation going, right, in those areas. But now everyone at least knows, I have not lost my mind, right? There is a method to the madness. Right. And if I show you something, you're like, what the hell is going on here? Just know that if it's not there yet, it's going to be reaching for these three things somewhere. And you'll see at least where I'm trying to go. And once you know, because all I'm doing is I'm just designing to these principles, and that's it. And you guys could do it too, right? There's no and the cool thing about designing these principles, it will make you look way more brilliant than you are, right? Like, because all of a sudden you're following this form and you're not looking for solutions to things, and it starts just showing you solutions to things. That's what's really cool about working inside of it. And this whole system I put together in December. Like in December, I was able to, using the design principle, organize all of this stuff. And so doing the design part is actually very easy. The hard part is just communicating it and getting it all out in the pages and stuff. So there's a lot of further designs that can come from this. And that's why I welcome anyone who wants to learn the design language more. There is so much opportunity, because it can be put into any kind of environment. Consider.
I think we found a unicorn. Good stuff.
Yeah. So it's really rad. And but anyway, so just on the I know all of us, well, not maybe all of us on this call, but I know a lot of us have a lot of work to do. I'm still waiting, by the way, for OnGraph. So OnGraph is officially behind, because they Neaton told me to expect it by maybe Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So we're still waiting on OnGraph. We're on the last leg of the art, but it's almost done. And you see on the site, Act 1, Scene 1, 2, and 3, Act 2, Scene 1, 2, and 3, then the seasons and the rounds. This is all stuff that I have to write. So this is I have to get all of this done here while the art is getting done, and then it's on the blockchain and it's on sale.
On that note, Rome, can we project a schedule at this point? Should we put a countdown timer on the website to launch to get people excited, or?
I don't want to do that until everything is up on the blockchain and we're ready to press the button. And then when we're ready to press the button, I want to do a 72-hour countdown. Does that sound good to you, Zach?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think isn't that 72 hours is kind of normal in that world, right?
It could be, yeah. People give it months and then one day.
What I don't want to do, and listen, Zach is really helping a lot with promotions and stuff, but never want we're never going to do any of that weird spamming stuff. To get free NFTs if you right. None of that obnoxious sales stuff. I think
tweet this to 5 people.
Yeah, I think our system will really speak for itself, and I think it already has. We've already have generated a lot of good interest. So anyway, I am going to. I always, what it feels like for me doing this, because I'm the only one talking. I feel like I'm boring the hell out of everyone on the call. Everyone is doing this.
You
That's the feeling.
You guys want to see some Amber art?
That's two. That's feeling, Rum. That's
Rum,
false.
I think both there's a possibility that both Paul,
Okay,
Carrie,
yeah.
and I are drawing during this conversation. So that's part of it.
Probably. You want to share your screen, Cat? Oh wait! Oh my God! Wait a minute! Hey, Patricia, this is Carrie Oast.
My God.
Yeah.
Hey, Patricia.
Nice to meet you, Carrie.
Nice to meet you too.
You have no idea how well Patricia.
I
knows
really
you.
thought you were a unicorn. Yeah.
He's bigger in real life.
I seem tiny.
Right.
I know. It's just my head is really big. All right. I was just gonna, by means of Amber asking you a question, I'm gonna show them something that you gave in. And I was just playing with during the meeting, and I can share my screen. Yes. But
cool.
yeah, she did all these really cool. And Amber, you had a bunch of other stuff that I was hoping to get PSDs of, like the really cool graphics you had behind, like of the geodesic dome, where it looked like he was an anchor man and all this. Do you remember that stuff, or do you have like those PSDs?
Do you want me to show some of them?
You can,
Yes.
but I was just wondering if I could have like the layered version, like PSD layered versions as well.
Yeah, I can put those on the server
I
for
was
you.
trying to sneak in that request, but
this
yeah,
evening. I really like the soft lighting on those. That's fantastic.
Oh, cool!
Great.
Thanks. I'm still working on it. I'd like to do a lot of stuff with it. It seems really fun.
Okay, so let me see if I can pull these up here. Everybody give me just a minute. I gotta go a little dive into the folder system here. Yeah, there it is.
You're showing some stuff, Amber?
Yeah, I was gonna show some stuff.
Cool.
Should I?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
There's 1,080 unique works of art total, guys. That's what how much is coming. 1,080. Imagine doing a show with 1,080 paintings. I mean, that's like, whoa, it's a lot.
It's like the Met, man.
Unless it's 24 frames a second.
So here's some of them, guys.
Yeah.
And I'll just slowly scroll across the screen there, just so you can see what we're building. It's sort of like he's reporting. You can see his eyes sort of zooming in.
This is sort of like we're in his mind, right? That's why he's
Yeah,
like,
it's almost like a dream sequence.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Also, it's like slowly look at, like, I don't know if you've seen this before, Rome, but it's like it's forming behind. It literally is forming behind him, like animation. It's all
Cool.
Oh,
CG. And
Amber,
shit.
can you make sure that the Bucky is so locked in place, because we can turn that into a really cool GIF, right? The fading in and out and stuff.
Yeah, I could do that for you. Or you could do it either way. It's like I could do just the boring stuff, Amber, if you want.
And when we present them on the site, right? Amber, we're going to start layering in scene 4 too on the site. I'm sorry, Act 2, scene 1. And you're going to see how much these are going to be now filling out those scenes more. It's going to be less of the social media chit chat and more Bucky's story. And it's going to be so easy because they tend to seem to be like 5-panel strips. Like each little pass is like 5 panels, and we can do each one in one GIF.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be yeah, that's so cool.
So that's some of the stuff we've been working on.
All right.
Super fun.
Hooray.
All right.
Looks great.
Any yeah. It's so and I know that we're on the very last little bit. I know it's really been hard. Everyone's working really hard. I really appreciate it. But things are looking so good. So good. And once we get this out there, all it is this. That's all we need to do, is just talk on video, right? And because all the work will be done and it'll be out there.
Hooray. Good job, team.
Sweet.
All righty. Anyone like to ask anything? Actually, I would like to ask you, because I'm also working on my, presentation ability, and me explaining the design principle is something that I'm not even sure I know how to explain well yet or not. But we have to take it into this new territory. Did it make sense, right? Or was it one of those things where it's like, Rome, I just don't understand what you're talking about? Or was it like, yeah, like, I'm not saying you have a detailed understanding, but does it intuitively make sense what I was saying at this stage? No?
Does to me.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for me because I've been hearing this for, like, iterations of this for years. So
it should just be a solid yes for you then. It should just be right.
But
right,
I mean, what about Patricia? Like, what about Patricia?
Well, it's gelling more for me. I feel so outside of this sphere, but I have to say, with every presentation, it gels more. And no, your presentations are clear. I just find myself clinging on like this, so it's a bit fast for me, but you guys are steeped in it. But I feel like when I listen, I get a lot of imagery. Like when you're speaking about the two, the one, the zero, in terms of sort of the two being somatic, the one being maybe more intellectual / cognitive, and leading to the zero being transcendent, right? So I think of it sort of like in my neck of the woods, sort of the neurobiology, especially of like, not that this is trauma, but in trauma, we would talk about that in terms of differentiation leading to linkage. So you have to link the differentiated parts, and that leads to, in the world of psychology, an integration. Here, the integration would be more of like what you're calling the transcendent, which is the whole.
Yeah, the whole system. Yeah, the whole system.
Right. Yeah. So this is what I hear and feel every time I hear you see it. I mean, I hear you present it. So the imagery that's being provided is gorgeous to back it up.
Oh, good. Well, anyone who wants to, at any time, anyone who wants to like learn the design side of it more, there's a lot of opportunity for anyone who is interested in this, because we're gonna have monies coming in, and I need 1,000 people smarter than me. So, and we're going to be really applying these designs in new areas. So just let me know if you want to jump in on that side of things when we get rolling. But we're going to be, by the way, I want to prepare everyone now. When we launch, things are going to be moving very fast. So I just want to prepare everyone very, very fast. Yeah. Let me get
Oh, geez.
Top. Are we talking subsonic or supersonic? What are we doing here?
Ludicrous speed.
Amber is like a speed addict. Not that.
Whoa.
No.
This is being recorded.
Amphetamines.
Crack whore, but not horror crack in any way.
Wow.
Yeah.
On that note, I think we were talking in terms in more of like, physical forces of speed. That's more of like what we were talking about. It's, there is a problem with methamphetamines out there. I lost a brother to methamphetamines, and I hope that this project, we can throw a little bit of love in that direction as well once we get things off the ground.
Word. That's big, yo. Sorry to hear that.
All right. Well, I'm going to conclude the meeting because it's 6:50. So I do want to keep these things to an hour, by the way, right? So this is good. So I'm going to end it at the hour. But I really appreciate everyone. I'm sorry I bored you to tears.
You didn't. Shut up.
I had to pay everyone $25 to be on this call. That's why you're here. I really appreciate it. Okay, I love you all, and thanks for checking it out, and we'll be in touch.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Patricia.
Bye, y'all. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all. Bye, Paul. Bye, Liana.
Bye.
Bye, Amber. Bye, Pete. Bye, Z. Bye.